What's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and welcome to another episode of People's Questions, episode 107. If you can't already tell, today I'll be playing Bioshock Infinite. And I would first off like to thank everyone who sent in a really great set of questions, and the good part of this is a lot of you actually had a good number of questions, so I have a feeling that this episode is going to be a lot more interesting than last week. So, starting off with the first 5 questions coming from GSS765, you want to know, have you ever watched the TV show The Sopranos? I've heard of The Sopranos, but I've never actually watched the show itself. I mean, I have no doubt that it's a good show, but it's never really appealed to me as something that I would be too interested in. Your next question is, what are my thoughts on mafia films such as Goodfellas? I've not seen Goodfellas, but I'm sure it's a fun little film for what it's supposed to be. I mean, I think it has, like, one of the records for, like, the most F-bombs in it. I may be wrong on that, but, I think it's one of those movies that if it's ever on, like, television and nothing else is on, I'll be more than happy to watch it. Next question is, have I ever watched the movie Taxi Driver? If so, what are my thoughts on it? I've never actually heard of that film, Taxi Driver, so if you can give me some insight to what it's about, if I can find an easy way of getting access to it, then I'll be more than happy to watch it one day. Maybe there's nothing else on. The next question is, was I disappointed on how the Mandarin twist turned out in Iron Man 3? If you actually look back in my history of videos, you can find my Iron Man 3 review, and yeah, I was really upset about that. In fact, that was actually one of the big reasons why I really didn't like Iron Man 3, and it ended up being on my top 10 worst movies I saw last year. To keep it simple, that was the only reason I wanted to see Iron Man 3, just to see the Iron Man, Tony Stark, and the Mandarin go at it, and I did not get that, so that movie can go screw itself. Next question is, do I watch boxing or MMA? I don't watch either one of those shows, or sports, really. They're not entertaining. I mean, I know WWE isn't real, but, at least I want to be entertained when I see two guys go at it, so, no. Next, 9 questions come from Mrs. Solid Snake, and you want to know, am I a fan of the show Adventure Time? I've never actually heard of Adventure Time, so if you want to give me some insight to what it's all about, I'd be more than happy to know about it. Next question is, opinions on Pokemon, the anime or the games? The animes, I'm sure many of us that were born in the 90s, we all were into Pokemon. I happen to see the Kanto and Johto regions. I think that's when I stopped, and in terms of the games, that's where I stopped too as well. I had all the Pokemon games that were like Red, Yellow, Blue, Gold, Silver, Crystal, and I think I retired when Crystal came out because I realized that those games are exceptionally addicting. So that's why I decided to retire from it, which is why I haven't played a Pokemon game since. Like, if I start playing any Pokemon game, even not knowing anything about what time period it's taking place in, I'll just be sucked into the game. Next question is, do I like TNA or Ring of Honor? I don't actually watch either one of those. I mean, TNA is kind of a sinking ship. It's only a matter of time before they go out of business. And Ring of Honor, it has a lot of potential to be something good, but it's not quite on the not so great, in my opinion, on the entertainment level. And whenever it comes to any of these type of, fake sports shows, I want to be entertained, and Ring of Honor just can't seem to do that. The next question is, who is my favorite non-playable character in the Metal Gear Solid series? Let's see. Okay, I'm going to have to separate this between Big Boss and Solid Snake, since those are the two main protagonists of this franchise. On Solid Snake's side, I would say Otacon. Otacon has always been like that loyal friend, and he always has some of the funniest dialogue, and just to see his interactions with Solid Snake has always been one of the best parts of playing the later games in the series. And in Big Boss's case, I'd have to say the Boss. The Boss is my favorite character in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I mean, everything about her really paved the way for the entire story of the Metal Gear Solid franchise. So, I was actually hoping that maybe one day we would actually get a Metal Gear Solid game where we could play as the Boss. But, a boy can dream, can't he? The next question is, who is my favorite athlete? I actually don't know. I can't really think of any athletes that I would consider my favorite. I mean, I watch basketball and football from time to time, but, not enough to really have a favorite player. The next question is, thoughts on the WWE series of video games? Well, I will say they're definitely a lot better than they were back in the old N64 days, but, for the most part, I don't really see a major leap between games. I mean, they'll add, like, certain functions or certain matches or certain customizations, but, they're solid games. At this time, I only own one of them, which is, so, maybe if you guys want to see footage for that one day, maybe I'll do a recording of that. Next question is, would I rather like to see Uncharted 4 or The Last of Us 2? I actually wasn't all that impressed with The Last of Us 1, so I would pick Uncharted 4, but as far as we know, we're not sure if it's called Uncharted 4, and I'm actually hoping that it's a reboot, because I really did not like how Uncharted 3 came out. I mean, don't get me wrong, Uncharted 1 and 2 are like some of the best games I've played on the PlayStation 3, but 3 was a big disappointment, both as a game and as a story. The next question is, would I rather want to take a trip to Middle-earth from Lord of the Rings, or Tamriel from Elder Scrolls? Middle-earth. I like Lord of the Rings, so that's no question. And your last question is my thoughts on CM Punk leaving the WWE. Uh, I was a bit upset about this, but on the other hand, if CM Punk did leave for his own reasons, then he must have had a really good reason. CM Punk's never been the type to just, follow the script according to plan. Like, if he has something that he's really passionate about and he wants to, say it and express his mind, then, I have great respect for that. So, him leaving WWE, I think that was just him making a statement that, he's not going to take the crap that WWE puts their, performers through, and, that I can respect the guy for sticking to his morals. So I'm sad that he had to leave. I would have liked to see him at WrestleMania 30, but, I guess he's a guy who keeps to his word, and I respect him even more for that. The next question comes from Mido5430, and you would like to know, would I like to visit an Arab country? If so, which one? No, I can't really say I would want to visit any of those countries. There's just nothing there that would, I'd be interested in. I mean, if I'm going to visit a country outside of the United States, then, I want to see the sights. But in terms of the Arab countries, I can't really think of anything that I would be interested in visiting or seeing. But, I'm sure a lot of people go to those countries for good reasons. The next 6 questions come from Markman, and you want to know who would win in a fight between Chucky and the Leprechaun. Chucky, I don't know too much about the Leprechaun, so I'm kind of going biased on this one, so I'm pretty sure Chucky would win. Next question is, what are my thoughts on the new Friday the 13th movie being a found footage film? Well, I saw the last Friday the 13th movie in theaters, and it wasn't anything special, so if they want to try something new with this new found footage thing, since it's getting on the rage lately, then all the power to them, but just don't expect me to go check it out in theaters. The next question is thoughts on Freddy vs. Jason. A lot of people like to give that movie a lot of crap, but I'm actually one of the few people who actually quite enjoyed Freddy vs. Jason. I just wish they would have changed a couple of the plot lines and some of the twists. Like, did anyone else other than me find it a bit odd that they said that Jason's weakness was water? I mean, despite the fact that we've seen Jason walk through water several times, so I don't know who was responsible for that one. Next question is best and worst of the Texas Chainsaw movies. The best one, in my opinion, being the original one, the really old one, and I guess the worst being Texas Chainsaw 3D, the one that came out last year. I mean, who could forget that stupid, infamous line at the end? Get 'em, cuz. Who the hell would say that? Next question is best and worst of the Child's Play Chucky movies. The worst one being Seed of Chucky. That just went way too much into the comedy level. And my favorite Chucky, which, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, is the one at the military camp. And I believe that one was Child's Play 3. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And the last question is best and worst of the Halloween films. Best one being, in my opinion, the first Rob Zombie remake. I didn't like Halloween 2, the one that he did, but I thought the first one that he did was a really great character study, actually going into depth into Michael Myers' backstory. And the worst one being, in my opinion, Halloween H2O. I don't want to really talk too much about that one. It's just terrible. Next 5 questions come from Draven G, and you want to know what are my thoughts on the WWE airing Chris Benoit's footage on their network. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding the whole Chris Benoit situation, but you have to acknowledge that up until that terrible incident, the guy was an absolutely tremendous performer, and I think that his victory at WrestleMania 20 when he beat Triple H and Shawn Michaels for the World Heavyweight Championship, in my opinion, that's still one of the most inspiring championship wins I've ever seen. So, say what you want about him for what he did to his wife and child, but he was a great performer, and he had a lot of great matches, and, you can bet I will be sure to check some of those out when the network finally is up online. Next question is, who would I like to see get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame either this year or next year? British Bulldog. I'm not sure if he's been inducted already, but if he hasn't, then he should be. Your next question is, do I think we will ever see Sting in the WWE? There's talks, there's been rumors that he might come to the WWE, and if he does, then, obviously I want to see him take on The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but hopefully we'll get it next year. Next question is, how would I compare the 70s live-action Spider-Man TV show with the 70s Incredible Hulk TV show? I've not seen either one of those, so I can't really compare those two. The next question is, what comic book movies do I think are overlooked or underrated? Believe it or not, I actually really liked Batman Forever. I know a lot of people like to give that movie a lot of crap because it's a Joel Schumacher film, but that was the first Batman film I ever saw, and it's actually one of the two reasons that the color green is my favorite color, for obvious reasons, but it had a lot of really great dark themes that a lot of people really overlook, and I think it's overrated, and, you know, if I ever have kids of my own, that is actually going to be the first Batman movie I make sure they see. The next question comes from Dylan Davis, and you want to know, am I excited for Final Fantasy 15? You know what, Dylan? Yes. Final Fantasy 15 has been one of my most anticipated games for a long time. Final Fantasy is one of my most cherished franchises of all time, and after what happened with 13, it was absolutely a travesty. I mean, I've had amazing experiences with Final Fantasy as a kid. I've had amazing experiences with Final Fantasy as a teenager. I just want one final great Final Fantasy game as an adult. Just one. And once I'm done, I can walk away from this franchise with my head held high and say that in a whole, that was one of the best series I will ever play in my life. And I hope Final Fantasy 15 can deliver. And the last 5 questions come from Lion095, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on Keith Sutherland voicing Snake, or in case Big Boss? I actually don't have a problem with it. As some of us do know, Big Boss is getting older, so his voice is going to change, and so, you know, I don't mind Keith Sutherland voicing Snake. My only problem is I hope that they don't use Solid Snake anymore, because if they get in Solid Snake again, David Hayter has to do that voice. We've heard Solid Snake's voice with David Hayter as a young man, as a mid-aged man, and as an old man, so to add Keith Sutherland in there is not going to make any sense. The next question is, who do I think would be a better president than Obama? The zombified corpse of John F. John F. Kennedy, if we could elect zombies. Next question is, what is my favorite book? I guess at this period of time it would be Sun Tzu's The Art of War, but if I could do in a franchise space, probably the last Harry Potter book. The next question is, do I have any great memories of high school? No. High school was pretty boring for the most part. I just kind of flew by it without really thinking too much. And your last question is, what is my favorite Nintendo game franchise? Unquestionably, it is Mario. Mario is the face of Nintendo for a reason. There's a reason he's been the face of Nintendo for like the past 20 years. And out of any of those franchises, you know, connected to Nintendo, I've had more great experiences with Mario. I mean, to this day, Mario 64 is still considered one of my all-time favorite video games of all time. With that, those are all the questions that you guys sent in this week for this episode of People's Questions. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode exceptionally special. If you have any questions that you would like me to answer on next week's episode 108, be sure to type them in the comments down below. And if you guys have any games that you would like me to see do a let's play for the next episode of People's Questions, please add it to your comments, and whichever one is the most requested, I'll be sure to play that one next time. And if you like this video, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to catch me at my future episodes of People's Questions. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.